Hello, good afternoon. And the title of this video is The Oracle of the Nemoralia. Um, it's also the time of the Pierced Meteor. I was trying to go for the shooting star effect. I kind of got like these confetti sprinkles, but I really like the filter, to be honest. I'm having like a vain moment right now. Stregano na Staten Island. Like, if everyone can hear me, comment. I want to make sure that the volume is working. Um, so I missed out on the new moon because it's been kind of busy here. I did do one for uh, Lamas or Lunasa, which was the first of the month, and then the new moon was on the 8th. And so I'm gonna do a little like doubling up because this is gonna cover some of that full moon that's coming uh, more towards the end of the month because it kind of talks about it in this um, oracle. All right, so the title of this video is again the Oracle of the Nemoralia, and what is the Nemoralia, and why has there been some controversy with the ancient holiday? So to kind of backtrack, okay, the Nemoralia is the feast of the Roman, it's actually pre-Roman goddess Diana, who was the goddess of the moon and of the hunt, and was the daughter of Jupiter, the king of the gods, and Latona, who was one of the Titans, and she was also the twin sister of Apollo, the god of light and music and poetry. So when the Greeks colonized southern Italy and Sicily, uh, they brought with them the worship of their gods, and then this process of the Etruscan and Italian gods became identified with the Greek gods, and a lot of the myths and legends and attributes became attached to the Italian Etruscan pantheon. All right, so when the Greeks came to uh, southern Italy and Sicily, they identified Diana with their goddess Artemis, who is the maiden, the virgin huntress, um, and also the goddess of the moon and the protector of young girls up until the point that they were married. So she was like the when girls became married, like Artemis is like, bye, I don't want nothing to do with y'all, Diana is a little bit different. Diana originally was a mother goddess, okay, where Artemis, except in certain cases, was not considered to be that. Diana was also the goddess of the plebeians. So the Roman society was divided into two classes. There was the patricians, which is the upper class, the class that the Senate came from, and the leaders, the political leaders, the wealthy class, basically, the landowners. The and we kind of use that word. We use both of these words today when we talk about someone patrician, right? You see the word patriarch, like father. Like we think of like these um, upper level of like rich families, old money. We're not talking about nouveau riche, Bill Gates kind of money. We're talking about like Vanderbilt, Rockefeller kind of money. When we use the word patrician, it has a certain connotation to it. Diana was not associated with that class. Diana was the goddess of the plebeians, which was the lower class, the middle to lower classes, the farmers, the artisans, the people that work the land, the servant class, and so forth. So Diana was more beloved of the lower class, and then later she became more of a goddess of the outsiders, the people that were shunned by society, you know, maybe, the rogues and the thieves, like what's that Cher song, the gypsy tramps and thieves, those kind of people. And as the religion changed from polytheism to having many gods to Christianity, um, Diana was looked at as this kind of outcast and the people that followed her. So the religion of Diana persisted even past the changeover from Christianity, and she became associated with witches. Not that everyone in the cult of Diana was witches, because um, as um, as we've been taught in Stregoneria by our elders, that the cult of Diana was composed of many people, people from all sorts of walks of life, and some of them were witches. But the idea of Diana associated with witchcraft came from the early church fathers, like the ancient Romans. They didn't know what to do with her. They're like, oh my God, like, but the Romans still had to respect her, right? Because she was a goddess. Where the church was not like that. They demonized her and said that, Diana was the same as Herodias, the wife of Herod, and that she was condemned to fly the night, and her daughter Salome. Um, and this becomes the genesis for the story of Diana and her daughter Aradia as the witch queens who instruct humanity how to practice. And witchcraft as a form of rebellion of, again, you see the same theme, the oppression of the lower classes by the upper class, which is represented by the church and the nobility, and the lower class rebelling against that because they were being oppressed and using magic. So as we see throughout the world, folk magic, whether we're talking about Southern Italian, Sicilian, whether we're talking about hoodoo and conjure, whether we're talking about any kind of folk magic, the magic of the people, the magic of us, okay, not the magic of the fancy schmancy hoity-toity magic of the upper class. Um, Folk magic has been traditionally used for people who are oppressed to survive and to even thrive in some cases, to be used as a tool to dismantle the system of oppression, you know, that has been, um, again, this is like, if we go back to that the upper class versus the lower class, and Diana was not the goddess of the upper class. She was the favorite of the ordinary people, right? And so the Nemoralia was a celebration. Most of the Greek and Roman festivals fall in the middle of the month because they were going through the lunar calendar. And so Diana's festival was roughly around August 13th to the 15th. Coincidentally enough, that when the religion switched over, this is also the feast of the Assumption of Mary as, the mother of Jesus, who shares a lot of attributes with Diana, because again, when the church um, took over, they could not get rid of this idea of the concept of a goddess. So they had to elevate Mary from a mortal woman to this like semi-divine status, and then everything else was like demonized, right? And I'm glossing over a lot of things, but you kind of get the idea. Um, so the feast of Diana at this time was the feast also called the Feast of Torches, because Diana is the goddess of light, right? The light of the moon, the light of the stars, and but it's like that night kind of light, where her brother Apollo is the god of the daytime. So recent controversy has, like, this is the feast of Hecate, which it is not. Diana became identified with Hecate in a much later period, and they actually are related, because in the Greek stories, Artemis, the Greek counterpart, is cousins with the goddess Hecate. That their mothers are sisters. Latona and or Leto and Hecate's mother, I forgot her name. Sorry, were sisters. So that makes them first cousins. So there is a relationship between them, but they are not the same. They're not. They have similar attributes, right? But like a lot of deities, Persephone, Diana, Hecate, overlap functions in the ancient world. All right. So that's a little background on what the Nemoralia, why it's really important to us Italian witches, because for two reasons, um, and also the Feast of the Assumption that falls nearby is in a lot of Italian American communities, especially in Boston, it's called Ferragosta, right? Which is another, I forget how it translates into English, but it has to do with the month of August and the Feast of the Assumption. So in our particular tradition, we have that kind of double dipping that goes on that you see in a lot of, especially in like Latin American societies, where there's the older traditions and the newer Christian traditions, and there's like this blurring of the lines and overlap. So the Nemoralia and the Assumption, the Madonna, the Virgin Mary is beloved by a lot of Italian Catholics and Latinos, of course, too. And then we have the Feast of Diana occurring around the same time. So there, again, there's this overlap, and the two share a lot of symbols. Diana is the goddess of the moon. The Virgin Mary has the crescent moon underneath her feet. Um, Diana is a mother goddess. Mary is the mother of Jesus and considered the mother of the church. So there's a lot of symbolism, and Diana was described as a virgin goddess, but in the ancient world, the idea of virgin did not mean not having sex. It meant a woman that was independent, that she wasn't married, that she could be whoever she wanted with. Okay? Um, so there are, different connotation with the word. All right. So the deck I'm using, very apropos, is the Gospel of Aradia. Yeah. And Aradia is the daughter of the goddess Diana, and was supposed to be the kind of like this messianic avatar um, to the witches of southern Italy, particularly in the region of Benevento, which is in like between Naples and Bari. All right, so these are the cards. The first one is creation. Okay, so when we talk about creation, it could mean literal creation. So again, be careful if you're not in the baby making mood. Careful. But creation also refers to new partnerships, new ideas, new alliances being formed. Okay, of course, we have the masculine and the feminine here. So it is that balance. When the masculine and feminine are in balance in your life, new life comes to play. Okay, because we have both in us, and psychology also talks about this too, especially Jungian psychology talks about the anima and the animus, the masculine and the feminine, and both of these forces together create life, right? When the forces are if there's too much masculinity or too much feminine, it's like everything is out of whack. But here in this card, it's talking about things are in balance. When you have that balance between the masculine and the feminine, that is when new things can come up, new possibilities, whether that's in love, whether that's in career, whether that's in your spiritual growth or journey. There has to be that balance between the two forces, the yin and the yang. Okay, next card. We have fortune. So once the two forces are balanced, that's when this prosperity, that's when this abundance occurs for us. Okay, so when we get to that point where we have that balance, that's when this happens. That's when we're able to manifest. That's when we're able to get those goals that we want achieved. Okay, so this is good. This is like prosperity for for this time. um that's what's coming up here, so make those moves, but remember, you need to have that balance first. Okay, which leads us to this culmination on this beautiful full moon, which is coming in August, which is the second full moon in Aquarius. And Aquarius is my moon sign, so I love it when the moon is in Aquarius. So this particular full moon, we're coming out of that Lionsgate energy. We're coming out of, you know, um, that Leo season. Okay, and as we start to move um, into Virgo, okay, we're gonna see again this continual abundance, this continued prosperity. And this particular full moon is when to work that energy. All right. Um, and especially it's the full moon after the Nemoralia of Diana's festival. It's gonna be particularly potent. Now, I don't want people to think that because this is something that happens that oh my God, I'm gonna miss this moon, or I'm gonna miss this eclipse, or I'm gonna miss this whatever shift, or whatever. These celestial events are occurring all the time. Sometimes we don't even think about it because it's just occurring. Um, so I don't want people to think that it's a full moon, I have to do something, because that's not how our ancestors did their magic, especially folk magic. Folk magic is all about need. So maybe you need something right away. Maybe you need money, or maybe you need to fix a situation. Maybe someone is sick, and you're not gonna wait. Like let's say God forbid something is happening to a loved one, some kind of emergency. You're not gonna wait for the full moon to light a candle or do that. You need to do it now. So it's just as these times, like, they are more desirable to do things, but you don't have to wait to do them, because any time is good. Whether the moon is new, whether the moon is dark or waning, that energy of the moon is the energy of the moon. you know and don't get stuck thinking that you need to do something all the time. Or maybe you just don't have the energy. Maybe on that full moon you want to take a nice relaxing bath and put Netflix on. Do it. you know Maybe that's how you recharge. Maybe that's sacred to you. There are no, like, hard and fast rules with this kind of thing. So, I think, and I see it a lot. People get hung up on certain things. Like, does it look like this? Does it have to do this? I know some of you watching, I've spoken to you about this before. So sometimes you just have to do it and not try to control every little aspect of something. Because part of what makes magic work is that release at the end. When you release the spell, when you release the outcome, you're going to get what you want. It may not manifest it in the way that you think it should be, but that's okay. The result might be the same. You know, we cannot control everything in the universe. We're not meant to. If that was the case, I would just, like, be like Samantha Stevens and Bewitched. I can't do it. Like, I would wiggle my nose. And I think a good example of this is, if you're a comic book fan, the and I've only seen clips of it, and parts of it was the show WandaVision, which is a great metaphor for, because she is a witch. She's the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, and she creates this whole fantasy world because she can't deal with the grief, with the loss of her soulmate, with the loss of her boyfriend. So she uses magic to create this whole fictional world based on TV sitcoms, right? And even though everything is picture perfect, like, in those 50s and 60s, I think up into the 70s, we started seeing those. Everything was fixed in that 30 minutes, up until I think the 80s. In the 80s and they showed that in the show, that shift where, not everything is perfect. And now you watch those family sitcoms, and the families, I think it may have started with the Married with Children era. Like, there's dysfunction, but that happens. So she tries to create this picture perfect world, and the cracks start to show as the timeline goes on, because she has all this magical power that's like she's almost omnipotent, almost like all powerful, but even she can't control what's going on. You know, she can't assert her will on others because others have their own free will too. She can't control every situation because life just doesn't work like that. You can have all the power in the universe, and still things are gonna happen. There's gonna be grief. There's gonna be loss. You know, but that's where the spirituality gives us that strength to deal with these things. You know, life isn't gonna get easier. That's just the way it is. But it will help us grow. It will help us get stronger. It will help us have that compassion for other people, but also that compassion for ourselves. And I think if you haven't seen it, and you know, even if you're not a comic book fan, but even if you're interested in witchcraft, that show is a great metaphor of what magic can accomplish and what it can't accomplish. You know, And not, not to give a spoiler alert, but she does say that to her kids in the show, like, we can't control everything. We can't reverse certain things. Um, and I think in that show, it shows her growth. She becomes this like super badass witch that can do basically anything. But even she realizes that she can't control everything, and she has to deal with her grief. That she can't dress it up and make it look pretty because it's not. She has to experience that raw, and then she's able to deal with it. You know, and that's what spirituality does for us too. It's like it doesn't give us that pretty dressing sometimes, the pretty window dressing. It makes us deal with that raw. And Diana is one of those primal energies because yes, she's the huntress, the mistress of nature, the mistress of the beasts. And in nature has fangs, nature has claws. I was reading something from another witch, and he was saying that, if you don't use the tools of magic, you know, to survive, life will basically push itself upon you. You know, God made us different for a reason. God gave us, claws and fangs, right? And humans, we're also animals. We're just maybe more sentient animals, but we're animals still. And, we may not have little claws and fangs, but we have spiritual claws and fangs, honey. We do. And sometimes we got to take them out. Sometimes, like my homegirl here, Strega Nona Staten Island, when our loved ones, when people try to mess with them, we will take those claws and fangs out and show that side. And I think that to me is the essence of Diana. That fierce maternal love. That mama bear energy. That's Diana. But Diana is also that gentle, if you've ever gone camping or you live in a like wooded area and you see like these, a mother deer with her fawns, and there's that like feeling of gentleness, that's also her. You know, because everything in nature is two-sided. You know, there's the claws and the fang side, and there's the beautiful flower side, and both of these are part of the same. And again, we were talking about in that first card that balance between the masculine and the feminine. So there's that balance, when to take the claws and the fangs out, and when to stop and smell the roses. You know, I know I feel like I'm like preaching a sermon here. Sorry, like, but I think what this cards are saying too is it's part of that lesson that we have to learn. And we all go through it, myself included. I don't want you ever to watch these videos and think I'm like walking on a cloud, and Archangel Uriel's behind me, like pushing. I mean, yes, we all have the protection, but I go through my shit just like the rest of you, you know. And there's lessons I have to learn and continue to learn. So none of us can live on the pedestals like the gods, like Diana or Apollo or any of them, because they've already and they evolve too, just along with us. They're the spirits are learning from us just as we're learning from them. It's a two-way street. It is a two-way street. So, and I think that's what makes it different, that those of us who are more on the folk magic or that kind of spiritual aspect, that when we approach the gods and the saints, we talk to them like that they are our family members, like that they're our aunts and our uncles and our grandparents, and we have that love, but we don't have like this like kiss butt kind of attitude with them too, because they know. It's just like in real life, like when we know a fake person, like someone is trying to kiss our ass, and we can see through that bullshit, they can see through our bullshit too. So it's like, it's all about the respect, but it's got to be that genuine respect and not, whatever. You can Tao and D and read all the Shakespearean sonnets and everything. I know this is one poem to Diana I love by an Elizabethan poet. It's beautiful. Like, the language is so beautiful. Um, But again, it's the words that come from our heart is what counts the most. So I'm gonna end this. My colleague and my homeboy Michael McQueen, he reworked one of the Catholic rosary prayers for Diana. So if you're Catholic, you probably know the Hail Mary. So he switched it up, and it just and he never worked with Diana until that time, and he just captured her essence. So uh, it goes like this: Hail Diana, full of glorious moonlight, thy Lord in concert is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Holy Diana, ferocious mother of witches, pray for us now and every moment of our lives. And so it is. See the ferocious, ferocious. When you're dealing with Diana, you gotta remember that word because Diana is like that fabulous Italian aunt that will visit you with the Hermes scarf, but she'll put her hunting boots on and take her bow and arrow out and start shooting. Again, it's that balance between the beautiful wildflowers and the mama bear that's coming because you threaten her kids. You threaten her bear cubs. So thank you for this. I hope everyone has a beautiful weekend and you know work that magic, people. All right, take care.